What's up, YouTube? Drew here, and you're in my shop with a 2008 Prius, only 110,000 miles, all the way up from the Gulf of Mexico. This car is perfect. No rust, the interior's in perfect shape, engine, everything is just absolutely wonderful in this car, except... and that's the thing here. If you guys are subscribers, you know I feel that the 2004 to 2009 Prius is the best used car on the market. They're bulletproof, they're obviously awesome on gas, and they're actually fairly simple, so there's a lot less that could go wrong than most people think. I stand behind those statements. I would still own one of these cars, and I'm going to continue to use these cars at work as long as I possibly can, and then when the United States supply runs out, I'm going to start importing them from Japan. But I need to be fair, and I need to show you guys the other side, the dark side of the second generation. So, it was said at one point in this car's history that it has the big three. If the engine goes, if the hybrid battery goes, or if the brake booster goes, it is at a, absolutely catastrophic financially. And I've debunked that in the past. The hybrid battery, it's basically, actually, here's one sitting on a table right here. The hybrid battery, and that's about the size of the box that, girls' cowboy boots would come in. This is not a big deal. I'm able to lift it out of the car and set it here. Inside is 28 of these individual cells. I don't work with them really, but it's here, and it's usually work I send out. Every metro in the United States, for the most part, within 100 miles of everybody is some guy or some girl who rebuilds hybrid batteries for a reasonable price. So forget that. That's not that bad. The other big issue is the engine. We're going to pop the hood of this guy here. If the engine goes on one of these cars, it does fit out from the top. Obviously, your average DIYer isn't going to tackle something like that. But again, there's, mechanics who specialize in these cars that, you could get a good used engine for this car for about $500, and there's probably somebody that'll put it in for you for under $1,000, and you can absolutely do it yourself in the driveway. Even if it takes you a whole weekend, it can be done. It's not the end of the world. But let's talk about some of the things in this car that are known and some of the things that are unknown that are the dark side. I don't know if you can see that right there. There is a white tab. I'm going to zoom in on it. It's right there. It's right in the dead center of your screen. That is the electrical harness for the brake booster. And, that's about a $500 used part, or about a $2,000 new part from Toyota if you can still get it. And, if you get one and, it's sitting on the table, all is well and good. But if you are in an area with rust, keep in mind the windshield wiper blades, motor, tray assembly, cowl cover, all that needs to come out. The inverter should come out. I have a video. I shot the content. If I haven't uploaded it yet, I will soon, and I'll link it in the description either way. So be sure to check back, which is a good reason to subscribe, by the way. You can absolutely do this job without taking the inverter out. It essentially sits right there, and the cooling lines remain connected. But it is, it's a day-long job plus to do one of those. And here's the big thing. If the lines, there's at least 5, if not 6, brake lines that go into that unit. And if you damage one of them, or if one of them is rusty, the can of worms you're opening is insane. You very well might have to pull the motor to get to, I can't say that for sure because it's been a while since I looked, but it is not going to be a small thing if one of those goes bad. And then, so now you've made a new one and patched it in, and you hope you get everything together and there's no leaks and no issues. You should use Toyota software to bleed the system. I and several other people have done it with no issues whatsoever over hundreds of thousands of miles just by simply vacuum bleeding with the car off. It's so that's doable, but that's not just, a $500 part on eBay and throwing it in. That's an extremely involved job and could be an end of life scenario financially for the car. Say you've got one of these with 350,000 miles. That's the only thing that's wrong. Great. It's definitely worth a $500 part, but it's not to a lot of people worth, replacing all the lines, especially if you're paying somebody else to do it. Now we're going to talk about something that is, I don't think many people are talking about yet. This particular unit, again, a very southern unit, right from the Gulf of Mexico, no rust at all. Look at underneath this car. It does not get cleaner than that. It's a little physically dirty, but look, no rust anywhere. This car has a gas tank issue, and as somebody, and right now, by the way, if you're not subscribed, this might be a reason to subscribe. I get at least 50, if not 75 cars a year, 2004 to 2009 Prius in my hands. I make sure they're perfect and I send them on their way. I'm starting to see more and more issues with the fuel gauge. And this particular one, there's a hard time adding gas to it. And there's the gas tank in this is not serviceable. It's a sealed tank with a rubber bladder inside. The fuel pump and the gauge indicator sender gizmo thing is all part of the tank. So now you've got an absolutely massive job. I mean, forget all you DIYers doing stuff in the in the parking lot of your apartment complex. Forget that. I mean, if that's a dangerous and irresponsible job. Unless you're, in a shop and really know what you're doing. I mean, especially if the gauge is wrong and you end up finding out there's, 10 gallons of gas in the thing. Imagine 2 5-gallon buckets full of gasoline. It's coming out and you don't know what to do about it. So that is a dangerous job. There's a way to jump the electrical wires on the fuel pump to pump it out into buckets and, whatever, do your thing. But that's an absolutely massive job. Again, we're talking about a used part that you hope doesn't have the same problem, or some aftermarket part for about $500 that's it's thousands less than Toyota's. Is it as good? So now you've got a car that's completely rust free, has an engine that is known to be bulletproof. You've got a hybrid battery where if that goes bad, it's cheap. You don't have a starter, you don't have an alternator, you don't have a power steering pump. You got a bulletproof car, but you can't add gas to it. So as somebody who has published, I mean, there's probably 10 videos on this channel. Again, go ahead and subscribe and just search the channel for Prius content. There's hundreds of thousands of views on videos I've posted on how great these cars are. I love these cars. I stand beside these cars. These cars are wonderful. If I didn't have 4 kids, I would own one of these cars. I mean, somebody with only 2 kids, 2 car seats in the back, space between them so they can't smack each other too hard, and plenty of room for cargo in the back. Unfortunately, they don't make one of these with a 3rd row or a bench seat in the front, right? But I would absolutely own one. I put probably 20,000 miles a year on these as they go through my hands. I love these cars, but I would not be a reputable source of information from you guys if I didn't tell you the negatives too. The fuel tank is an absolutely massive negative on these cars. The brake booster is an absolutely massive negative on these cars. You get issues like that, and say you have you spend, it's got to be at least $1,000 to have a used gas tank put in, and then you end up with the same problem. I, again, personally would not stray from this car because of these potential issues, but it is worth mentioning that a 2003 to 2008 Corolla is also one of the most reliable cars ever made, and to service a gas gauge or a fuel pump issue, you simply pop out, you don't even need tools to do it, pop out the cushion of the back seat, put down, I would have put down a tarp, obviously, and then there's a little access door that comes off, and the fuel pump and the sending unit's right there. You could get the whole thing on Rock Auto for like $100, and you could absolutely do that in the parking lot of an apartment complex. You could probably do it in the parking lot of the part store where you buy the part. Easy peasy. So still, greatest used car in the world, I think. But there's a dark side. These are 2 of the big issues, and you guys should know about them. So, hey, if you're watching this and this was at all, moving or helpful or entertaining or anything, please give it a like. I usually only post positive content, but this needs to be shown. I have some other content coming on some unrelated vehicles too soon that just things people should know, kind of public service announcements about what can go wrong. This is my favorite used car, period. I love these cars. But I got to tell you the truth, and here it is. So if you like that, hit that thumbs up button. Greatly appreciate it. If you want to see more Prius content, you want to see all the positives, subscribe to the channel. I still stand behind these. I love them. Take care, guys. God bless you. Bye-bye.